Yo, what's good, gamers? My name is Dr. Ryan Terao, PsychSensei, and thank you for loading into this episode of QueueUp. But before we load in, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so I can continue to vibe and bring you more of these insightful conversations. And whether you're a player, a student, or a coach, and you want that sweet brainy blue buff, please head over to my website, PsychSensei.com, where you can boost your mental mana bar by signing up for a free consultation where you and I can chat one-on-one, gain some insight, and develop your win con today. And if you really want to get in my head, please don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @ThePsychSensei. And remember, friends, stronger mental wins. In this episode of QueueUp, I sit down with the powerful Jake Vayln Batillo. Vayln is currently the in-game leader of The Guard, a professional Valorant team. Join me for this insightful conversation as he reflects on what it takes to be a high-level IGL, his journey through esports, and talk about how to build a tilt-proof mindset. Woo! Are you stoked and ready to queue up? I know I am. Let's get it. Yo, what's good, gamers? What's good? My name is Dr. Ryan Terao, PsychSensei, and welcome to QueueUp. Before I jump in and introduce my awesome guest, if you want to learn more about me and what I do, please visit my website, PsychSensei.com. If you want to be a guest on the show and have something to say, you can also fill out a guest request form. And also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, there's a form for that too. For your free consultation, you and I can sit down, figure out your win con, and work towards it today. Well, now that's all the way. I'd like to welcome my guest, Jake Batillo, also known as Vayln, of the IGL of The Guard. Dude, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here. How are you?
Bro, I'm even better now that we're chilling. We're chopping up about SF in a little bit. But, dude, as I start with all my shows, bro, like, tell us a little bit about, like, you, how you got into gaming. Was it always, like, first-person shooters? Like, how'd you get into it, bro?
Yeah, so, I mean, the first console I've ever had was a Wii. I believe my brother, and I was really young. And I remember, like, one of the first games I've ever played, besides Wii Sports, was, like COD. And I remember I had the nunchuck and the regular controller.
Oh my
and
God.
You had to, like, aim with the Wii controller. Dude, it was crazy. But I remember, my brother got me into gaming at a pretty young age. And after I kind of switched from consoles, I played on Xbox for, like, most of my childhood. I swapped to PC around, like, 13 years old, and I got into CS. And from there, that's where I kind of learned a lot about, like, tactical FPS and what it takes to be, like, a team and a competitor in that sense, because before I was just kind of playing for fun, pugs and stuff like that. But when I got into CS, I really learned about, like, team play and being a competitor in esports. And from there, I was just, like, grinding pugs. Like, I had a dream of being a pro player, but, at that time I really felt like it was unrealistic for me to become that. But, I just kept playing. I was having fun. And I actually ended up stop playing CS because when I got to high school, I kind of just quit games. I was focusing on other things. I had, school to work, to focus on. I had sports to focus on. So kind of gaming was on the back foot. But once COVID hit, and at the same time, Valorant dropped around the same time as, like, when, like, we went into isolation, that I just got back into Valorant. I kind of dropped sports. I was like, this isolation, I don't know if I'm going to have a season. So I got back into gaming, and I would say I took a lot of those life lessons and personal traits I got from playing sports and developed it into, my character into esports. And that's how I kind of became an IGL. And I just kept pushing. I kept grinding. I watched a lot of VODs. And I would just look up to a bunch of these players who've been doing it for a while. And I just put my head down and kept grinding. And I got into the position I am now. It's a crazy road, but I mean, we're here now.
So I'm thinking back to, it's like, all right, so I got a dog during COVID and you decided to go pro. So I think there was different time spent during our COVID times, but sick. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm just trying to imagine you, like, with a nunchuck, thinking, like, yep, this is the shit, bro. Like,
no, literally, bro. Like, we're on this old school TV. Like, you got to plug in the yellow cables and stuff like that. And I got the nunchucks out, dude. I'm aiming with my hands. Like,
Bro,
From that day, I was destined.
dude, we have to. I don't know if there's a way to hook that up for freaking Valorant, or even just go challenge
Oh
the
my
the
god.
gorilla, the our COD team with nunchucks for that. I've been so sick, the gorillas.
Oh my god, dude, I'd get owned.
So wait, okay. So were you always like IGLing even from when you started playing games, or was that something that you developed over time? Like, how did you even get to be that position?
So actually, funnily enough, when I was playing CS, like just in ESEA tournaments, I was IGLing and I was like 14, 15 years old. And I was just like shot calling. Like I wasn't really a leader at all, but at that age, obviously. But in terms of like shot calling, like I was calling strats, I was trying to make plays and develop things with my team. And I would show my teammates smokes and I'd like spend, I was like doing IGL things, but I wasn't really a leader at all because I was 14. I didn't really understand what the role like truly was. I was just kind of a shot caller. Um, but I've always figured like I'm playing my best when I feel like I can lead my team. Honestly, I feel like that's just part of me as a player is like being able to take control of like tempo and stuff like that, and like lead my team to victory has always been a benefit of my play, not
Mhm.
only like mechanical. Um, and a lot. I would say a lot of IGLs. It's kind of like a stigma around IGLing where you can't really focus on fragging too much because you're focused on IGLing a lot. But for me, I feel like I have a really good balance between the two where I feel like I have a really good control of my own gameplay, but also I can help my teammates and make sure I'm calling good strats and I'm countering, everything like that. So I feel like I have a really good balance, which makes me kind of like uh, unique in a sense,
Mm.
where I feel like I can take over lobbies like mechanically, but also with my calls.
Okay, wait. You said something really interesting. What would you say is the difference between like an IGL and a shot caller?
Oh, I mean, a shot caller is just somebody who, in my opinion, just it's in the name. Like they're just calling strats for their team. But the IGL, like when you're a leader for your team, it's you have much more responsibilities, and that's something I'm also learning throughout my time with the teams I have been on in Valorant. I'm slowly developing into that role better. But yeah, in IGL, like you're responsible for your teammates. You're responsible for your practice. You're responsible for a lot of things. It's not only just in live time when you're calling strats. Like, if someone's having a problem, like you're kind of the guy to handle it. Like if someone needs help on a role, you can help with that. But also just like in general, just like team culture and team mentality kind of falls into your hands along with the coach. How you handle practice, like if your teammates are slacking, are you going to be the guy that like steps up and says something, or are you just going to keep going and letting them do their thing? And I would say that's really what distincts an IGL between a shot caller.
Yeah, I mean, I just haven't. I never thought of the two as two different roles because oftentimes like people say, "Oh, up in the shot caller" or whatever, but when you put it that way between actually being a leader versus someone just calling strats, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm wondering like,
Yeah.
was that something that you also had to learn, like how to be a leader, and if so, like how did you start developing that? Because I'm trying to think of like other players trying to get into the scene or other developing IGLs. Like if I was just a shot caller, how would I develop myself into a IGL?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone honestly to get that advice from, it would be me because I was at one point just a shot caller. Like honestly, I was a shot caller. I wasn't really a leader. I didn't really have those characteristics to step up in heated moments and like say something in those situations. But throughout my time, especially on the guard, I would say I've really developed into that role throughout this year, and I'm only getting better. But if you're trying to get into that role, let's say you're a shot caller and you really want to step up and be a leader for your team, but you feel like you're kind of uncomfortable. That's totally normal, right? Like I was literally the same way, but at some point you have to just get out of your comfort shell. Like you have to push out of your comfort zone and try to step up in those moments. Like next time you see a situation where you feel like you can step up, just do it. And like if you don't and you're scared again, then next time it happens, do it. And like eventually you're gonna have to do it or you're never gonna grow. You know what I mean? Um, you got to step up and kind of take it on the chin sometimes. And that's part of being the leader. And trust me, your teammates and your coaching staff and everyone on the org is going to respect you a lot more, even if, you say some things when in heated times feels like you shouldn't say anything. Like when you're the guy to step up and say something, people are going to notice and they're going to take your word. a lot more serious in those situations. And then you're kind of developing into that like respected leader for the team where like when you say something, it matters, you know?
Okay, okay. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm wondering, like, okay, as a leader, say you do take those shots, you do take those risks, you fall super like just flat on your face, just boom, it's bad. Like, how do you get up? How do you recover? Like, what is that process like for you? Because I can only imagine what was like for you at first, and then after a while, it's like, oh, this is like whatever. I say these things or I make mistakes, whatever. But what's that like for you to fall straight on your face and to get back up, my guy?
Um, I mean, I would say it's really just like your mentality, right? Like if you want to be a pro player, like at the end of the day, you know, fail you can't be scared from failure. And you have to like it's kind of cliche at this point where like people say, oh, like, you know, you when you lose, it's a lesson, but like it really is. And like you have to develop that mindset because you're not always gonna win. There you have to lose. Like there's no only winning in this world, honestly. And especially when you are trying to become a professional player, let alone professional IGL, you're going to have a lot of responsibilities and you're not always going to make the right decisions. And every single time you fail, instead of just like being down on yourself and being like, oh, I'm such a failure, like I messed this up, like you really have to just take it on the chin and learn next time. You think like for me, like, I went from, we won stage one and I didn't even make the playoffs in stage two. And then LCQ, I went to the grand finals. Like if myself as an IGL would have been like, oh, I'm trash. Like I didn't even make the playoffs. Like I got lucky. Like, would have been the same thing in LCQ. So, every single time you take a loss as a human being, you have to just take a step back, reflect, understand what went wrong, how you can fix it for next time, and keep pushing. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how good you think you are, you're always going to fail at some point. And that's just reality.
Okay, I'm getting the sense that I'm very impressed with the sense of confidence that you've been able to create or develop or you have. So where does the sense of confidence or your sense of confidence come from, man?
Um, Honestly, it's hard to pinpoint it to one thing. And like, I would say it was something I've developed, honestly, pretty recently. Like I went like recently in the last like 2, 3 years, I would say, I became a much more confident person. Growing up, like as a early teenager, I wasn't very confident in myself. Like I was just kind of going through the motions in life. But as I like, started playing sports and I started, being a competitor, I've learned like, I've taken a lot of life advice or life lessons from just being a competitor. Like you could take a lot of things and apply it. Um, and I just think with like all of the repetitions I've been getting, um, I've became pretty confident person in myself just because I like I've done things that prove to myself like I have what it takes. So for me, it's really like I got to prove it to myself type thing.
Hmm.
And as I've done that, I became a lot more confident in myself. Um, because yeah, I mean, when I was, let's say, a year and a half ago, when I was losing a lot, like I wasn't really a top player. Like I can't confidently say that I have the same self confidence as I do now. Like I might have been a confident player, but at the same time, for me personally, having the results to back it up just proves to yourself like what you're saying is valid. Which might not be the best way to feel self-confident, but for me that's what I found. And even through losses, I feel like I've kind of it's also, sorry if I'm getting a little
No,
like
you're good, bro. This is all you. You're
one
doing
way
great.
here, one way here, but even through losses, I used to take it very poorly, and I used to be that kind of person where I was like, oh, like I lost, like I could have done way more, and I still kind of am now, but I'm much more self-aware now. So when I do take a loss or something doesn't go my way, I kind of tend to understand why, and because of that, like I'm starting to understand myself better. Like, okay, what what is limiting yourself? Why are you not getting the results you want? Is it a common occurrence between matches that you're losing that you're getting these what I'm saying? So as I'm learning myself more, I'm starting to be more self-confident. Um, and yeah, I mean, in terms of confidence with speaking and being like
An
vocal,
analyst,
I
yeah.
would, yeah, I mean, I was literally gonna say like being on the desk, for example, like I'm not even joking, dude. After being on the desk, like before and after, I would say my ability to speak on camera or speak in front of people or whatever, just like talking in general, increased by like 20%. Like, actually, I don't know why, but just like going through that, I feel like after going through that, I could talk to anybody, dude. You know, like I guess the only next step is like in front of a big crowd, like at a LAN event or something. But you know, it's just I'm going through life and I'm going through these situations, and I'm just taking them as lessons and keep growing. Honestly.
Okay, hold on. What is that process like for you to even like take a step back and reflect? Because I can only imagine you take a hard loss, the emotions that might be there present after that hard loss, and how long does it take you to step back? How long does it take you to like digest that stuff, to look at it objectively? Because I'm trying to think of like most players who just sit in the sadness or the upsetness of like, well, it sucks. I guess I have to grind more now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a robot. When I lose, like, I get sad too, and there's been nights where like I couldn't sleep because of a loss. Like, that happens, Um, and the most realistic answer is that stuff is gonna happen, but you can't drown in it, right? Eventually you got to pull yourself back up. Cause like if you're just gonna sit in that sadness, like what have you done? Like you took the loss and you're just gonna sit in the loss forever. Like you gotta eventually be able to bounce back. You can't drown in your losses, but it's totally okay to feel, sad or feel depressed after a loss or feel like you could have done more. Those are all healthy emotions. But at some point, you have to take it on the chin and move on. And once you kind of, once you're I'm not trying to take shots or anything, but like once you're mature enough to be able to do that, then you're going to be able to take a step back, because until you're mature enough to be able to take a loss and, be sad for a little bit, but get yourself out of it in like a day or even like 2 days, then you're going to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I took this loss recently. This is what happened. This is what I could have done more. Oh, was my routine a little different today? Like, did I do anything different? Like I'm literally dissecting my start to end day to see if I did anything wrong. And if I do notice that I did something wrong that I usually don't do, I'm like, okay, I did this. And I can give a perfect example where we played 100 Thieves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the night before, I was like watching a bunch of their VODs, and I was like over analyzing them, and I was really like, okay, like this is gonna happen. I gotta counter with this. You know what I'm saying? Like over analyzing 100 Thieves, right? And we took a pretty bad loss the next day, and I dissected. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong the previous day? Like, why did this happen? And people might think, oh, you were watching more VODs, that means you're most likely gonna win, right? But that's not always the case, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the type of person the night before to watch and try to dissect all the information and like inspect them. I've never been that kind of person. I've been the person to, throughout the week incorporate my strategy around them instead of just like, oh, cramming it all in the night before. And you know what I'm saying? So like I
Yeah.
noticed like, oh, dude, I'm not that kind of guy. Like, why am I
What am I
doing this?
doing, bros? Who am I?
Yeah. So like that's a perfect example. Like I took that hard loss, and I was sad. Like I was one game away from making champs, but I did lose, and I took a step back. I'm like, okay, like that's one thing. Like why am I overthinking it? Why am I watching all their VODs the night before and trying to like perfectly counter strat them? That's not how you play. That's not how you call, right? So that's one thing. And that's just an example. And once you can apply that to all of your in all of life situations, right? Once
Oh,
you can apply
we're
that
getting deep,
mentality
man.
to everything, you can, the sky's the limit, right? Because you're gonna keep growing from your losses. Um, but yeah.
Okay, wait. So the theme that I'm getting from you, man, is it doesn't the loss itself doesn't matter. The real question is, what do you actually do with this loss, this
Yep.
feeling, this place? And now I'm wondering on the other end, does that also apply to wins?
Um, I would say it depends on the win. Um, I would say some wins you can take things from and be like, okay, like, yes, we won, but this wasn't that clean, or we could have done this better, or on the other hand, what I like to do with wins is, okay, what did we do very good? And if you can kind of pinpoint what you did very good to get that result, you want to try to mimic that every time you play. And I also do that with practice. So if, let's say I play a scrim, or we have a set map that day, and we're doing very good on that day, and I'm like, okay, why are we doing so good on that day? What are we calling? How are we playing? What's the tempo like? What's working for us? And you try to mimic that. and you mimic that mimic. Oh, it didn't work this day. Okay, why did this tempo not work this day? And you just keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and then eventually you just have like a super fucking, sorry to cuss, you just have like a super
Bro, you can say whatever you want. Fuck it. Go for it, dude.
you just have like a super like thought out, playbook, because you're taking the things you do well and you keep doing it until it's not working, and then you figure out, okay, why is this not working, and you tweak it and you just keep tweaking it. And to answer your question, yes, with losses, because let's say you took a loss and you played well, but you could have tweaked something here to make it better. You apply that for the next time you play that map, for the next time you play that team, and you just keep pushing. So regardless, guys, when you play an official match, you can always take something away from it. Even if you own a team, if you 13-0 a team, you could take away, yeah, this was perfect, this was really good.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm just curious now. Like, you seem like a very analytical person that tries to take lessons or things away from any experience that you go into. Is this like a thing that is just a part of you? Is this something you develop through games? Like, where does this come from, bro?
I would say I definitely developed it from games and being an IGL, honestly. Because I always try to improve myself, and I always try to push myself to be better. And I'm just finding new ways to improve myself, and improve my IGLing, improve my calling, improve, my win percentage with my teams, improve everything, right, about me. Um, and I would just say through trial and error and through a lot of self-reflection, I've learned like, okay, I could take this away. I could take this away. It's not something that just comes to you naturally, in my opinion. I think you have to go through the process of it, but you have to be mature enough to be able to not just, like I said before, just sit in your losses, and you have to be able to take something away. And once you constantly do that over and over again, it's like a routine. Always. It's like, okay, yep, you took a loss. Okay, what can you take away from it? And again, I want to be clear, I'm not a robot, right? This isn't automatic. I do get sad. I do be like, damn, I lost. Like, I can't even sleep tonight. Like, I was one game off. Oh my God. Like, how did we lose? Like that happens to me too. But eventually I pull myself out, and I try to take something away from it. So at least it matters. At least, I always, there's always something, guys. There's always something. There's always like a good, if
A
that makes
silver
sense. Like,
lining, per se?
yeah, a silver lining. There's always a silver lining, regardless. I was one game off making champs. One game off. My silver lining is I got back into the gym during this time off, and I got to see family. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't get to go, but at least I got to do this. And you're just gonna be a much more happier person, a much happier competitor when everything that happens you could take something from, and always have something that is good. Because with every bad, you can have a good.
Bro, I'm trying to think. I'm getting chicken skin as you say that, because I'm even thinking about even how this even started. The bad was coronavirus took everyone out, and you're like, I guess I'm done with sports now. I guess I'm going pro in Valorant. I guess that's what's
Yeah.
happening, and there it was. So even going back to that, like, what was it like to just be a player in amateur and then becoming a pro? What was that even like, that rise?
Oh man. It was hard, bro. I mean, I was grinding like every day, 10, 12 hours a day. No, like not getting paid. Um for I would say, I think it was over a year, like probably
Damn.
14 months. I was grinding free agent teams, like smaller tournaments, just really trying to get my name out. And a lot of people ask me like, oh, like how'd you become pro? Like, what are tips for becoming pro? Or what are tips for this? It's like, guys, I'm telling you right now, this might not be the answer you want to hear, but there's no secret tips. There's no out, there's no beating the grind. You have to do it. And that's why it's so rare for people to become professionals, honestly, is because you can't like trick the grind. The amount of, my football coach always told me this when I was hitting the gym, but the amount of work that you put into something, you always get back. You're putting in the gym, let's say you're putting 110% effort, your physique is going to be 110%. You're putting 110% effort into grinding Valorant, into becoming the best player you can. And you can't trick yourself, right? You can't say, oh, I'm putting 110% in when you aren't actually. You can't trick yourself. So you have to actually be putting in the work, and eventually you'll reap the rewards. But there's no out tricking the system. There's no like hidden tips or hacks that you can get good fast. You have to play the game more. You have to be analytical. You have to watch VODs. You have to study. And that's the best way to get good at something.
I was just gonna say, wait, let's get more specific in the grind. It's not just playing, right? Like, I'm sure that you're playing the game a lot, and you said like 10 to 12 hours, but I'm sure that wasn't just you playing ranked, was
Oh
it?
yeah. No, no, no. So 10 to 12 hours, I mean, especially for me, I was IGLing. So, um, I would have, a common day for me would be, let's say 7 hour team practice. Um, I would say maybe an hour, realistically, an hour a day of VOD review. Realistically, like that's nothing crazy, right? Some people might say 2, 3 hours, but like who's actually going to sit there for 2, 3 hours? Like you have to be realistic,
Let's
guys.
be
It's a
real here, man. I
long-term
mean, really
grind.
get crazy, but not that crazy.
Yeah, like if you're in tournament mode, like if you're in a tournament coming up and you really have to study these teams, I understand that. But if you're a free agent player and you're on an everyday grind, you have to be consistent so you don't get burnt out. And the best way is like, have your team practice. Let me set up a schedule for all of you guys right now grinding in free agent teams right now. Okay?
Hell yeah, let's
Listen,
go, baby.
listen.
Let's.
You do 6 hour team practice and you can divide that however you want. Okay. I would recommend 4 hours of scrims, 4 blocks of scrims, 4 scrims total, and 2 hours of server time. And server time can be in a server, VOD review, making strats, anything. Okay. You do 6 hours of that. So 6 hour team prac.
Okay.
Do an hour of your VOD review.
Okay.
Okay. Of your own team, of yourself, of professional teams, any of that. Okay. So you're at 7 hours right now. And then do the rest of the time, I would limit it to 3 hours. I would say you should have a 10-hour day max if you're going like that. You should limit the last 3 hours to whatever you want. If you want to stream and play ranked for 3 hours, if you want to just play ranked for 3 hours, you should do that. But try to limit yourself to 10 hours a day. And that's really good, guys. You don't need to be playing the damn game 14 hours a day. You're going to burn out within 2 weeks. Play the game 8 to 10 hours a day. Okay. Put in the grind, put in your maximum effort, take breaks when needed. Okay. And be analytical with everything you do. Have purpose with everything you do. When you're taking a break, have purpose for that break. Okay. It's not just, oh, I'm taking time off, I'm going to chill with the boys. Like, yeah, you're doing that, but it's, you're resetting for Valorant as well. It's crazy. Everything you do should have a purpose. Okay. Once you develop into that mindset, guys, you will notice yourself become way better in everything, honestly.
I'm gonna clip that for later. So when everyone's like, "Oh, I just play the game," I was like, "Listen to Papa Jake right here, bro. Like, I don't know. It's not. I'm not the pro. The pro said this. I think that's effective. So again, run it down. Jake said 10 hours max. 10 hours max to prevent burnout. Right. So I got
Yeah.
6 hours. You got your team prac. That the things you do with your team. You go into scrims. You learn with your team. Then outside of that, you got an hour VOD review, not just of yourself, but of other players, maybe your team or whatever. And then after that, you have 3 hours of free time per se. You can choose to pick your own adventure. You can go stream, you can play ranked, you can do whatever. And also, what I loved that what you said was, if you're gonna take a break, make sure that you use that break purposefully. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna kick it with the boys, but it's a restorative break with the purpose of getting ready for Valorant. Okay,
Yes.
we got a question from Kyle Party 64. What's a schedule for people with a 9 to 5, or can't it be done?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I completely forgot about that because at least for me, I was in online school, so like I would do like 3 hours of online school and I call it a day. And that's and honestly,
Thanks, COVID. Yeah.
it is a very harsh reality in my opinion, at least, because I would say, if you're going to school full time or you have a full time job and you're trying to become a pro player, I mean, unless you are very talented or you are going insane hours without getting burnt out, in my opinion, it's very hard. Like it's unrealistic, in my opinion. I would say if you want, because you have to remember, guys, everyone wants to become a professional. Like all these players that are playing in free agent tournaments are striving to become professionals. And at the end of the day, if there's some circumstances that you can't control, like you have a full-time job or you're a full-time student, that's going to hinder you, right? But I'm not trying to say it's impossible, okay? Because
Key.
for
Yeah.
me, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say it's impossible because I'm kind of half and half. I still had school. I went pro my senior year.
Whoa.
I was playing throughout. I went pro like in the middle of my senior year. So at the end of the day, I wasn't online classes. So it wasn't like I had to go to school, come back. There wasn't all that travel time involved as well. It was just like, I would say a 4 to 5 hour day on Zoom, if I remember. and that was my day. But you can always tailor your schedule to your work if you really want it. Like if this is your dream, don't give up and try to tailor your schedule around your job. So let's say for your question's a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 9 to 5, come home, take like an hour break. I would say try to start up at like 6 o'clock. And if you can start around like 6 o'clock, let's say you're putting in, I would say at that point you should try to be putting in like 6 hours, 7 hours, honestly, because you still gotta wake up for work, right? Um, and
True.
and don't get me wrong, like you need to prioritize your sleep. You can't be playing to like 5 a.m. if you gotta be at your job at 9. Like
Thank
you gotta
God,
get
yes.
ready and stuff. Like you gotta prioritize your sleep, or else you're gonna feel like a zombie. So I mean, you have to remember it's going to be a lot harder for you if you have those priorities like a full-time job or full-time school. But it is doable, and you just have to tailor your schedule around yourself, and try to make it work, And the other option is if you can change your hours for work to where you get off earlier, because let's say you have a
later.
9 to 5. Yeah, let's say you have a 9 to 5. Well, I would say get off earlier if possible. And you start really early in the morning, because like gamer hours are kind of like, from, I would say in my opinion, like I would say like from 12 PST, 12 to 1 PST is like start time, and end is like 8 PST for in terms of like scrim blocks, like when teams are practicing. So if you can try to like, get off work at like, let's say you're on the East Coast. If you're on the East Coast and you can get off at work at like 3 o'clock, but you start a little early, you're golden. Like there, you can get back home and hop on scrims and you're good to go. But yeah, I mean, it's hard, but you got to try to tailor it to your schedule, right? Make it work.
I think something else that is assumed, but I think you're thinking about it and you say it out loud, is being very intentional of what you're doing with that time if you don't have that much time to practice or train in. I think it's making sure that you're always trying to get something out of that game, that round, whatever, being very focused, being very intentional in what you're doing. So even if you do only have, I don't know, 4 hours, if you get home at, I don't know, 6, or you start at 6, you go to 10, that leaves you 2 hours from 12 to sleep a little bit more. Like, even if you have 4 hours, making sure that those 4 hours are super meaningful, super important, and super valuable with what you're taking out of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you need to be, like you said, very intentional with your time, because especially when you're on a time crunch like that, like you need to really like tailor your schedule that like every hour that you have is being maximized, because you don't have much time. Like you have, a big portion of your day is going to your job or your school. So everything outside of that needs to be tailored to help you like practice at the maximum efficiency. And that also includes, you need to account for breaks too. You're not a robot. You can't just go from a 9 to 5 instantly play 6 hours of Valorant. You need to account for breaks. You need to account for food, taking some walks, getting some steps in. It has to be a very, very calculated day. And it's not, I can't just give you like a time for everything. It's very dependent on the person. It depends on your schedule, but just try to take a step back, understand your schedule, where you can fit in certain things, and just go with it, man. And I really think with a consistent schedule, you can get a lot done, even if you're not playing 10 hours a day.
So with this idea in mind, would you say that if someone's like a dad and a physical therapist that works with gamers, if they applied the same kind of intensity, that they could also go pro one day?
A dad and has a job?
Yeah. Yes, he's a father and a physical therapist working with gamers. You might know them.
I mean, Ryan, I don't know how to tell you this.
Hey, it's not me. I'm not the physical therapist, bro. But yeah,
I know it's not you. I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think it's possible.
Oh man, I mean, I didn't want to say nothing. I know that they're already pretty terrible at the game, but I'm glad it came from you. It's not me. Yeah, all right. So really being intentional and structured. And what would you tell it? Like, okay, well, there's so many people out there. I can already hear them saying like, bro, I don't need to do that. All I just need to do is like spend more time. I don't need to go to the gym. I need to get some like take some breaks because if I take breaks, Jake, what you don't understand is that there's somebody else working harder and longer than me, and they're just gonna take my spot, bro. Like you don't understand.
Nah, that's I don't
Straight.
know how that like became a thing. I mean, I kind of know how, but like that is the most bullshit I've ever heard, bro. Like this guy's putting in like 18 hours a day. I'm only like, dude, at a certain point, like the time you put in that day like is irrelevant. Like if you're putting, it depends on, like it's all about like, oh my god, it's all about efficiency, guys. If you're putting in 12 hours a day but you're not efficient, you're not doing shit. You're not doing anything. Like if you're putting in 6 hours a day and you have maximum efficiency and you're learning every day and getting 1% better, you are going to outbeat the guy putting 12 hours a day like brainlessly. Like it needs to be calculated, guys. Everything needs to be efficient. And even if you're saying you're putting in 12 hours a day of efficient work, that is possible, but that is very like insane. Like 12 hours of like 100% efficient work, in my opinion, is pretty crazy. That's why I limit myself to around 10, because that's where I found my sweet spot is like if I'm really being technical, 10 is a pretty good spot because I'm putting in around, 7 hours with my team. I'm putting like an hour in VOD review. I can be technical with that. And then the last 2 hours, like, I'm still playing ranked. I'm practicing my mechanics. I'm a little technical, but like, even then it's like, oh, I'm just playing ranked, you know? Um, but yeah, you grinding like 12 ranked games a day does not mean you are putting in more work than the other guy. You need to account for breaks. You're going to get burnt out. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been putting in like 12-hour days and I'm like, oh, like I feel like I'm kind of slumping a little bit. And then I take like a day break and I'm just like infinitely better. Like my mental is much more clear. My shot is better. I'm feeling more confident. Like, guys, breaks are good. Like, think about it like this. The best way I can tell you this is imagine you're working out, right? And you're hitting the gym every single day, right? And you're putting in 10 hours. Guys, you're
Just
putting
doing
in three
arms. Yeah.
you're putting 3 hours in the gym every single day, right? But your sleep sucks and your diet kind of sucks. But like you're in the gym and you're fucking pushing and like you're pushing weight and like you're grinding your ass off. At the end of the day, if you're not getting in the proper rest, you're not getting like the sleep you need, the nutrition you need, you're not going to grow. You're not going to recover. So eventually you're going to be putting in all that work, you're going to be pushing all that weight, and you're just going to crash, dude. You're not going to be able to push a pound at some point. Like you need to like take your recovery serious.
Damn. Absolutely. So, someone says it's all about efficiency. It's so applicable to so many things in life. I'm like, oh, goddamn. You're saying so many. Okay, wait. Did this take you running into? Okay, wait. Hold on. Were you that person before in the gym for like 3 hours a day, not taking breaks, not eating right, and like crashing? Was that you? And then you're like, I got some changes. Or did you watch enough people to crash and burn? You're like, that's not gonna be me. Like, where
Um,
did this knowledge come from? Because you're like what, 19, 20?
19.
Jesus Christ. Right, right. So like, where'd this come from? At 19,
Um,
in the midst of the pandemic.
ooh, I would say definitely. I don't think I didn't get that from the gym. Honestly, I would say I always really took care of myself in terms of like sleep and like making sure I'm getting proper nutrition when I was, when I was playing football, when I was lifting every day. I would really like make sure I wouldn't burn out of the gym. Because it's really easy to, honestly, even easier than gaming. But I would say I really learned these life lessons about burning out and stuff like that and making sure you take your rest from gaming itself, because I used to be the type of guy to just brainlessly grind 12, 14 hours. I would feel kind of shitty. Like I wouldn't, I always noticed myself getting into slumps and my mental was bad. And I was like, I need to, take care of myself more. And, I got my sleep down. Um, I'm trying to get my sleep better even now. Like I'm always trying to progress, but I'm trying to get my sleep down. I'm trying to get my nutrition down, making sure I'm taking like proper supplements, especially being a gamer. Like you're not really going out much. So you got to make sure, you're supplementing your body with what it needs. Um, and I'm still working towards it now. Like I would say like trying to get time in the gym or time outside is really good. That's something I'm working on myself now. I feel a lot, better with myself. Like during the off season, I've been hitting the gym and being more active, and I feel better in game as well. So there's a lot of things you can do, guys, that's not just playing the game that'll help you in the game. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, facts. Okay, wait. Okay, so for you, how many games can you play as a professional that like dedicates their life to this thing? How many games can you play at like 100%, not tired, locked in a row? How many games?
Okay. There is a difference, because if we're talking about scrims where I'm IGLing versus just rank games,
Okay.
there's a difference.
Okay,
So
what is the
we
difference you
should
think, and then
specify.
how many?
Okay, yeah. So if I'm like in scrims where I'm being very analytical of everyone because I'm IGL, I would say like four scrims in a row before I need like an hour break.
Okay.
So just like chill for a little. Rank games, if I'm just focusing on myself, being very self-aware and trying to work on my aim, I would also say in a row, I could probably hit like 5, 6 in a row, depending on, if I got really good sleep that day, or if I'm feeling good that day, I could probably hit like 6 in a row. If I'm having an average day, I could say 5 in a row.
Okay.
After that, I would need a break. But definitely less matches and scrims, especially because also to say scrims are longer because you're playing out all the rounds. It's not just first to 13. You're playing out all the rounds to get maximum practice. So it is more time and server, I would say, but you're being very analytical in scrims and you're taking it very, very serious. So usually, and also just to say, I also had to condition myself to be able to do that. Before, I would say like 3 scrims and like 4 rank games. But because I've got really good at 3 and 4. Now I can do like 4 and 5 and stuff like that.
Right. So you
I
basically,
don't
yeah.
think scrims. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh
I
no,
don't
keep
think
going, keep going.
scrims would. I don't think I could ever go over 4 in a row in terms of scrims and be like I can confidently say I'm like 100% focused. I would say after 4, I really need that break. But I could say if I'm just focusing on myself and my mechanics, I could probably one day hit like 7, 8 ranked games in a row. But bro, who's doing that?
Right. So to recap, so about 4 scrims, and if you're really pushing it, like 6 rank games.
Yeah, if I'm really pushing it, 6 ranked games. Yeah.
Okay, but before that, it was only 3 scrims at full capacity and maybe 4 ranked games in a row.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, because I mean, like 5, like when I'm really pushing it, like 6, but on average, like 5, like now. Before, it was like if I'm really feeling it, I could hit 5, and then average days like 4. So I would say it went up by like +1 in both areas.
Right. So this is not something that you're just like, okay, I'm here now. I can play like 8 games in a row. It was, okay, I'm playing 4, then I can play another one at full capacity, then maybe one more at like less than that. But it was over time that you're able to build up your cognitive endurance with all the things that you're thinking about and performing in game.
Right. Because it's all about just getting that endurance up in game. Because if you're playing, rank games at 60%, what's the point? Like you're not getting better. You might as well spend that time doing something else that would help you in game, guys, like hitting, like going to the gym, getting some steps in, like being active, or watching a VOD or something besides playing a rank. Like if you can't confidently say you're putting at least minimum like 80%, you might as well spend that time doing something else, honestly.
All right. Now, this is a personal question. Would you consider, like, do you sometimes participate in the tilt queue, or are you just like, I'm tilted, I'm done now? Like, do you fall into the same traps as
Oh no,
me?
when I'm tilted, I'm out. I'm out. I don't play. If I tilt queue, bro, I'll lose my shit. So I just get off.
Has that always been you, or like you had to like make that
No,
a rule
that's
for
always been
yourself?
me.
Oh,
Always, bro.
damn.
Always. Yeah.
See, okay, another thing I'm learning too is that you really need a very high functioning frontal lobes. And Jake, what you're showing me is that you have very functional frontal lobes of, nope, this is impulsive. I shouldn't be doing this. It's time to stop. Me, I'm like, fuck it. It has to get better from here, right? It doesn't.
I
It
can't.
never does.
But I'm pessimistic. I'm just like it's only gonna get worse.
Word. But what I really like what you said, it's like, it sounds like you know your limits of how many games that you can play at effective level. And now that helps me, because if I hear a player say like, yeah, I can play like 10 ranked games in a row, I'm like, I'm gonna call that bullshit right now. I'll call
Oh
bullshit.
yeah. There's no way. If you're playing 10 ranked games in a row, no break, bro. There's no way you could play 10 ranked games in a day. Like if you're not playing like if you don't have team practice and all you're doing is playing ranked, sure, 10 a day is like normal. But bro, if you're dropping 10 in a row, no water break, no walk around, dude, you are dying. There's no way you're being efficient. There's no way.
Okay, in the same vein of like rank games, okay, like do you use different rank games for different things? Like for example, like some rank games is like okay, there's a sweaty try hard game. Other games is like okay, I really want to work on improving this agent or looking at positioning or things like that. Or is it all just I'm just playing ranked? Like what is your approach to rank?
Um, I would say the more catered stuff like that is definitely for scrims, in my opinion. But when I'm playing ranked, I either have two things. I'm either just literally just playing ranked, which is just I'm playing the game, like I'm kind of shooting the shit, like I'm having fun playing the game for what it's meant to be played for. Obviously, I'm trying to win, but at the same time, I'm enjoying myself. Um, or the other thing for ranked is, let's say your team needs you on a new agent, or you want to learn a new agent, or you want to expand your agent pool, right? That's really ranked is really good for that because you can just get a lot of reps in with that agent, even if it's not like the best reps, because sometimes your team won't listen to your utility or they won't call for it. I understand all that, but just being able to play the agent and just be self-sufficient or just try to help your teammates, like getting those reps in will definitely help you become better with that agent or with that role. So that's what I use ranked for. That's why I feel confident on, like, honestly, like any agent, because I've in ranked, like I don't really only play controller, like I play everything. So I really have that deep agent pool. Um, but yeah, like what you were saying before about like, oh, this is going to be a try hard game. This is going to be a more catered to this. I personally don't have that because ranked, it's really hard to have it like that. But
Mm,
when you're in a more controlled setting, like a scrim, it's a lot easier to be able to like cater something like that.
got it, got it. Okay, wait, do you IGL in ranked? Like, are you trying to help your ranked teammates of like, this is why we should play the game, boys? Or it's like, all right, whatever, lols, XD.
Hell no. Hell no. Never. They don't listen. They don't. The only times I call in ranked is if I have like a nice team and like everyone's like having fun and funny and like we need to win. Like when I'm enjoying myself, you might hear me call a couple strats here and there just to like make sure we get the win. But yeah, like I I'm just kind of like there. I'm just playing like that because I really just take time in ranked to just focus on my like just playing the game, like focusing on my mechanical skill and focusing on myself more than like my teammates, honestly. Um, Especially in scrims, like all my time is basically devoted into developing my playbook and my structure around my team. So I have to spend some time for myself in ranked to
Hmm.
develop myself.
Did that change over time? Like, did your perception or use of ranked change from like when you're an amateur or trying to become a pro versus when you are a pro?
Yeah, for me it definitely did. When I was trying to become a pro, I was definitely like trying to grind leaderboard and like, become like rank 1 or top 10, whatever, get on the leaderboard, get my name out there. Um, but now that I am a professional, I would say my perspective on ranked has shifted into just like kind of like a catered solo practice, where I don't really care too much about wins and losses, because before, when I was an unsigned player, I
Mm-hmm.
would stress about rank. I'd be like, oh, I lost this, I'm losing, like, but now when I'm playing ranked, I don't really tilt that much. I feel much more better mentally. Like I don't, how a lot of people get tilted over ranked, like, like I'm losing my shit over ranked. Like I don't really get that way, because I've understood that like I'm already a professional. Like I'm using this to like better myself, and this number on the leaderboard doesn't mean like shit to me. Like what I put up on a match day matters more than my what place I am in ranked.
Wow. So did that like once you be like when you were becoming a pro, your rank really mattered to you, but after you became a pro, you're like, well, this is just something that I have to do or a way that I can practice.
Yeah, definitely. Like because when you're trying to become a pro, like everything matters. Your exposure matters. So like being higher on the leaderboard really helps you. Um, but when you're already a pro, like I don't want you guys to take what I'm saying as like, oh, you're a pro, you don't need to play ranked anymore. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a pro, you can shift your perspective from like, oh, I need to win this match, like I need to like get top 10 or I need to get top 5, into like more like, okay, I'm just gonna practice this agent unranked. It's this map I want to practice, I want to practice KO on Ascent today. Oh, I want to practice Fade on Ascent. Like you can just like pick what you want to do, and like you're going and you're playing the game and you're having fun. Instead of like, oh, I gotta one trick this agent and win every single match. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do whatever you want when
Okay.
you don't really care about leaderboard.
Like, if you do you think, or how do you think that would have changed your trajectory, your experience of trying to become a pro if you took that same mentality you have now back then?
I would say I would definitely be a better player back then, and I'd have a much stronger mental because before, like, I would tilt like playing ranked. I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm losing. Like, I gotta get this top 10. Like, oh, these guys are throwing my games, like, and eventually, when you're tilting like that, eventually it like piles up, and you end up playing worse. So if I
Mm.
took what I know now back then, like, I would just be, practicing my individual skills, and I'd probably be a lot better player, honestly. And I'd have, because before I was just like one tricking like smokes to make sure I win every game, but I wasn't really learning anything. I was just going through the motions to try to win. So I would say, yeah, I would have learned a lot more things quicker before.
Whoa. Okay. Now let's take it back. Let's take it back. If you could go back in time to a worse time, I guess, with COVID, when you first started touching the keyboard and the mouse in Valorant, what would you have told yourself in that moment? Like your younger self? Like kick open that door behind you, poof, you see yourself playing. What pieces of advice? Listen, kid.
Um, I mean, I would say, have a good mentality. Honestly, underrated. Like, you have to keep a good mental with everything. Um, be intentional with everything you're doing. Um, and don't feel discouraged off losses, because I used to be that type of guy where I would beat myself up over losses really bad, like I would feel like I'd feel like shit for a week,
Whoa.
even like I'd be like, yeah, like I was so like overcritical of myself, um and it kind of put me in a bad spot mentally. But yeah, I mean, there's no easy way out. You gotta just accept it what it is. Like, you gotta fall in the best thing, actually the number one thing I would tell myself is you gotta fall in love with the grind, because there's no beating it, and like you got to learn to enjoy it, or else you're not going to have a good time.
Damn. Yeah, that relationship with the grind sometimes is good. You're on a honeymoon. Sometimes it becomes abusive. Other times it's just confusing. And other times it's really
Yeah.
good.
And you got to learn to love it, at all points, honestly.
Bro, that's deep. That's freaking deep. Like, how do you think like your relationship with the grind has changed over time then? Has it always been sunshines and rainbows, or has it been a little toxic at times? And where is it now?
um I would say I've always kind of been the same in terms of like my relationship with the grind, because I know what it takes to become a pro. Like, I felt like I had a pretty realistic view on it in terms of like what it takes. Like, I know there was no easy way out, and like I know that this is going to be a years long process where it's not going to be easy, but if you want it, you got to put in the work. So I would say I really always had that mentality, and I always had that good relationship with the grind. The only thing I would say is, um, I used to not like, whenever I'd go through rough points, I would take it a lot harder than I do now. And that's when I like, yeah. I mean, that's like most I can say about it. Is just like I would take losses and stuff like that a lot worse, which would make me like hate what I'm doing at some point.
Hmm.
But now I've kind of learned to be more mature about it and understand that you're not always going to win. That's impossible, and you have to like always have a silver lining with losses and take something out of it.
What made you let go of losses or not see them in the same way that they don't stick with you for so long? Because it seems like that was like a big turning point for you where you're actually able to like take that loss, digest it. I mean, feel bad about it, but instead of getting drowned by it, like you said, you're actually able to take a step back, observe it for what it was, and then use it to get better. Like, what was that process of like learning how to let go of those losses?
I would say just through repetition of losing,
I
honestly.
lost a lot of games, bro.
Like, I've lost a lot of games, you know, and as the stakes get higher and matches matter more and you lose those, it's like, if you can get through that loss, bro, you can get through anything. Like, Me losing at Iceland, me losing one game away from champions, like if I can go through those kind of losses, like, and take something out of it, then I think I can do it with every loss. And it's just a matter of you playing the game more, you getting yourself into more situations, um, and just learning about yourself, honestly, just through repetition. Like always trying to take a step back and realize, like, it's really hard to put in words exactly, um, like what I like how I like the process of like learning to cope with losses. It's really hard, but the you could take this however you want. But like honestly, I've learned about myself more, and that's like the most like clear way I can say it. It's just I learned about myself more. I learned to analyze every type of situation better, and I've just like I got more mature about it, and yeah.
I get this vibe that like you're not the type of person to like blame something for what the reason why something happened. Like, oh, I lost this game because of somebody or this external thing. It seems like you're able to say like, okay, I lost this game. How did it happen? What went wrong? And just look at it objectively versus it wasn't me. It was like all these other things. It's just unlucky. That's why I lost.
Yeah, no, that's such an immature way of looking at things. If you just instantly look for blame or look for something to put the loss on, that's so immature. Um, unless your teammate like hard through and just ran it down, like
Leroy.
unless it looked like he was getting paid to throw the game, like that's so immature. And there's always, you lost as a team, you lost as a five. There's always a bigger answer than your small. Always, this is what happens. You take a loss and you always look at the small things. Oh, this guy did this. Oh, this guy did this. Guys, there's a much bigger picture you have to be looking at of why you lost. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just about maturity, um, and understanding that, like, I don't know, bro. Like, if you,
I don't know,
I
bro.
really don't know. Like, that's just something you gotta like.
Don't do.
Just don't, literally just don't do.
Don't
You
do that.
can't blame, guys. There's answers. There's much deeper answers to why you lost.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm a huge UFC fan. You know, watched UFC before it was cool. I remember when it was on VHS. Good times. Did jujitsu before it was cool too. Good times. But it was really interesting to watch the evolution of UFC. You know, from like one tricks. We're gonna have like karate versus like taekwondo versus a sumo person versus one dude with a glove on. Like the fuck? Good times. It was wild. And now you've watched the actual evolution of the sport where you have, instead of just like 20 something year olds getting to the sport, you literally have kids who have been training, who have been like doing different types of martial arts and really making them mix truly. And now there's so many things that, so many different styles you can see. And it's funny because when I'm talking to you, it's like, oh shit, I see it. Like this is the next generation of esports or the next generation of like UFC, IRL, like online people. Like you have been training since you were a kid on nunchucks with Call of Duty on a Wii. And you've progressed through different titles and you've been learning different things in different games, either traditional sports, esports, and now you've kind of put them all together and now you're this IGL at this level. And if you're able to package it and learn it and do the things that you're doing and see the way that you're seeing the game and taking losses the way you do, or being disciplined in the way that you're intentional with your training, or even taking breaks, dude, like it's so intense. I was just like, man, when are we going to get here? And now it's like, oh, we're getting there. It's like, holy shit, dude. It's so crazy. Because before it's like, dude, you just got to grind the game, play more for like 5 head. That's all you need to do. But you're saying like,
There's so many levels to it. So many levels to it.
There are so many levels. And I think the way that you're able to put it together, the way you see it and be like, okay, I see what those other people are doing and that's incorrect. And I think this is the proper way to actually like be efficient with your time, actually learn through the games and how to be consistent every time I go out. And it's not through just playing the game, but it's watching VOD, it's taking breaks, it's structuring my time to make sure that I'm doing all these other stuff that contribute to the game.
Yeah, definitely. And like I like when I picked up Valorant, like I had, I had no connection. I didn't have a Twitter account. I didn't have anything. Like I started from literally zero. So like these are all from my personal experiences um that
Yeah.
I found to get myself successful. So it could be different for a lot of people, but this is coming from someone who had no connection, had no really, I even took like 2 years off gaming. Like I wasn't playing CS for like 2, 3 years because I was focused on school. Like I basically started super fresh, and that was the recipe I found for success. And I just learned through trial and error. I learned from other people's mistakes, having conversations with people, like, you know. So I mean, if it works, if it doesn't work for you, like if what I'm saying doesn't work for you or doesn't apply to you, that's totally fine. This is from my personal experiences. But I really think that for the mass general public, I really feel like taking what I'm saying and what Ryan is also saying, and like, trying to apply it to yourselves, you're gonna have a lot. I want to say cleaner experience going pro instead of just like, just mindlessly grinding the game 14 hours, not doing anything. Like basically like, what I'm saying? You got to have a good balance. So,
And I'll kind of take off the first half of what Jake said and say, do exactly what he's doing. Like that is this whatever, the concoction or the strategy that you developed, the way that you're able to take steps back and see things as lessons and always continuously learn and search for different things to better yourself or see how different things are connected, not just in gaming, but outside of gaming, all those things. Do all those things. It's like just copy and paste that with everything that Jake said. Copy and paste and do that. And holy shit, I lost track of time. That's my mistake. But since I lost track of time, we've arrived faster at my favorite part of the show, my dude. So if you're gonna give us three nuggets, three pieces of take home things to do to get better, what would those things be, Jake?
the first one is always be intentional with everything you do. Um, and that's including playing, breaks, having fun, be intentional with everything. Um, the second one is always keep an open mind and always have a like positive, always keep an open mind and always stay positive and like, you know, be open to learn. And example I'll give is like when you die in game, never just be like, oh, this guy messed up, like he got me killed or this happened. Always try to look for why you died. From the start of the round, from when the round starts to the end, every decision you make will dictate that round from start to end. It's not just, oh, what you did in the last 10 seconds matters of how you died, which a lot of people fall into that trap. It's how you started to the end of the round. So always keep an open mind and keep a positive mental. And the last one is, I would say, is to take care of yourself. Um, a lot of people in whatever grind they're going into kind of have a really unhealthy relationship with it. And I, you could take it from me too. Like when I started grinding, like, I was just mindlessly playing. Like I put on like a good amount of weight. Like I was just grinding the game, like mindlessly, not really caring about myself. And, once I started, being more responsible about myself and taking care of myself, like I felt so much better. So I would say number one, always be intentional. That's the biggest one. Two, keep an open mind and always stay positive. And three is to take care of yourself.
Damn. I love it. I want to reemphasize one other thing that you said that I think can be uh, not just applied to games, but like life in general. I really love how you said, like, when you die, really think about or watch back every single decision that you made from the beginning of the round until you died, because every decision that you make has an effect on how the round goes. And I mean,
Yeah.
games, rounds, whatever, I feel like those are just micro examples of someone's life or a day or a year
Oh
or
yeah.
wherever to where you are. Like every decision, everything you do has brought you to where you are right now. And I don't think people even think about that. They're saying, oh, like things happen to me. It's like, yes. And
Yeah,
you,
exactly. Like, sorry to cut you off, but I
no,
really
no,
want to say
please
this. Like,
do, dude.
people will look at the last week or in game the last 20 seconds and dictate, oh, that's why it happened. But they're not looking at the complete buildup from start to end. They're looking at only the recent things that happened that led up to it instead of the beginning to end. And you really need to like look at the whole picture.
Damn. All right, brother. That's so deep. Love it. Love it. Got chicken skin already. So, where can people find you, brother? If you want to hang out with you, want to see where you live in online, not in real life, but like they want to hang out with you or whatever, what kind of stuff you got going on, where can they find you?
If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Vayln God on Twitter. And then I stream like every day right now during off season at Vayln FPS on Twitch. But if you go to my Twitter, it should have all my links there anyway. So I'm probably going to stream pretty soon after this.
Nice,
if you guys
nice.
want to like ask me questions after coming out, yeah, come through.
Awesome, awesome. Catch his stream and help him beat Trent. So go follow him on Twitter at Vayln God.
I don't know how we're going to get there, but
Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there, bro. We'll get there. But dude, thank you so much for coming. Really enjoyed our conversation. I lost track of time. My bad. Sorry. But yes, if everyone wants to pop into his stream after this, you can follow him on Vayln. Is it Vayln God FPS?
No, Vayln FPS on
Vayln
Twitch.
FPS on Twitch. All right, friends. If you want to learn more about me or see other shows that I've done, please visit my website, PsychSensei.com. There you can find my Twitter, my TikTok, my LinkedIn, my... What else do I have? Instagram, my Facebook, freaking all of it, man. There on my website, PsychSensei.com. And if you want to be a guest on my show, you can also fill out a form. And also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can also fill out a free consultation form, and you and I can find your WinCon and work towards it today, all at PsychSensei.com. All right, friends. Thank you for sticking around. Take us out, Vayln.
Later, guys. Thanks for watching.
Peace. Bye.
Peace.
Dude, I'm still recovering from all the knowledge bombs Vayln just dropped on us and his level of maturity. And if you want to be a good leader, bro, you got a nice model to follow. So if you want to go follow Vayln, go follow him on Twitter at VaylnGod, or you can find him on his Twitch stream at twitch.tv/VaylnFPS. Well, if you want to watch and learn from my last episode, it's right here. And if you really want to find more, it's all right here, baby. And remember, if you need anything, you can find me at the PsychSensei on Twitter or on my website, PsychSensei.com. And as always, my name is Dr. Ryan Terao, your PsychSensei. Thank you for watching this episode of QueueUp. And remember, friends, stronger mental wins. Cheers.